Does your business leave a lasting impression? Attractive, eye-catching signs help you stand out from the crowd and create a strong brand identity. Our team at Signorama West Palm are experts in helping your business get noticed and get effective signage in front of your potential customers. Our team can turn your blank windows or plain vehicles into money-making branding machines by drawing customers' attention to your business. So if you're looking to leave that lasting impression, call us 561-687-7993 or visit SignoramawPB.com.
This is the Delray Beach Open. Don't miss today's top professional tennis stars and legends in downtown Delray Beach. February 7th through 16th. It's 10 days of tennis on the Ave. 140 miles per hour races, parties, music, art, and all the good vibes. Come for the nonstop action on and off the court. Snap pics and post memories at the DBO. Join us for a jam-packed week of ATP tennis matches. More fun, more food, more drink, more parties, more of everything. DelrayBeachOpen.com for info.
Warning. Amendment 4 overturns Florida's parental consent law, so a minor could undergo an abortion without a parent's permission. Doctors can't even prescribe Tylenol without a parent's consent. But with Amendment 4, abortion would become the only medical procedure that can be performed on a minor without a parent's permission. Amendment 4 goes far beyond Roe v. Wade, eliminating reasonable safeguards and forcing taxpayers to fund abortions, even late-term abortions when science says the baby can feel pain. The Amendment 4 campaign is funded by George Soros and his radical allies, the same people trying to strip away parents' rights and push gender ideology in schools are trying to overturn parental consent on abortion. Amendment 4 isn't about freedom. It's about taking power from parents and giving it to radical leftists. Be warned. Amendment 4 is way too extreme and not what it seems. Sponsored by Truth About Amendment 4.
Anajar and Levine.
Call 1-800-7473. That's 1-800-747-3733.
ESPN 1063.
WUUB Jupiter, a Good Karma Brands radio station. Huddle up.
66 Hitch X Vegas Flare. I'm one ready.
It's time to break down the boldest plays.
Let's go, baby. Boom.
Hardest hits. And the craziest stories from around the NFL.
Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Fire the cannons.
This is Sunday Huddle with Colin Russo, presented by Hard Rock Bet.
It's a beautiful Sunday morning right here in South Florida. Week 9 of the NFL coming up. It's Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet. Hi, everybody. Colin Russo here. Joined alongside me is Cade Chumsland behind the glass, making sure things go on the air. Over here in downtown West Palm Beach at the City Place Studios, got a whole packed slate of football coming up. Week 9 of the Sunday slate of the NFL, halfway point essentially of the NFL season. So we kind of have a sense of the identities of every team involved. The Jets and the Texans played on Thursday Night Football in New York. The 2-6 Jets coming into that game were one of the more pathetic teams in the National Football League. While the Texans were riding high at 6-2, but weirdly enough, you know, the sports books had the Jets actually favored in that one. Everybody was confused on that. The sports books, once again, proved to be right. Vegas always knows. Jets won that one 21-13. CJ Stroud struggled. Aaron Rodgers had a strong second half, an ugly game throughout that first half, but the Jets get back in the win column. They moved to 3-6. Texans dropped to 6-3. We'll get into that really quickly here, Cade. You're a Texan fan, right?
Oh, yes.
So they're sitting at 6-3. Looking from hindsight, looking from far back, you'd think, all right, the Texans are in great shape. I watched that game on Thursday night, and I did not think the Texans were anywhere near great shape. Would you do that?
Oh, I've been telling you we haven't looked in great shape for a long time. We had one good game against the New England Patriots. Otherwise, we've been barely able to beat some of these easy teams all year long. 2 really close games against the Colts. 1 last-second drive against the Jaguars. Our defense showed up against the Bears, but we should have lost that game too.
The Packers was close, but the offense struggled.
Oh, CJ looked horrible. I think he had under 100 yards passing total. There has been so much that just looks off with this team. The sophomore slump isn't just coming from CJ Stroud. It also looks like it's coming from Bobby Slowick, who, in my opinion, I think he's lost his head coaching opportunity for next year. Everyone was talking about this guy moving somewhere else after he completely revitalized this offense with a brand new rookie quarterback. Now he's got the exact same pieces around him, if not more and better ones, and this offense looks considerably worse.
Now they have injuries, so there's one thing you definitely have to just be willing to admit is that there's a number of injuries that the Texans suffer from that are hurting the team. No Nico Collins, no Stephon Diggs go down the list. Joe Mixon got hurt for a couple of games. But you're right. The problem is I think the book's out on the Texans on how they run their offense, what works for Stroud. He was pressured nonstop on Thursday night.
Oh, my goodness.
And
8 sacks?
And, of course, every quarterback will struggle when you're pressured that much. So you can't put everything on him. But even when he did have time in the pocket, he looked almost lost out there. And he didn't really, there was not a lot of sense of conviction on where he wanted to go with the ball. Now, I wonder if this is a offense construction problem. And the Texans, they rely a lot on the deep ball. They rely a lot on those deep intermediate balls. They don't necessarily have that methodical nature to that offense. They don't consistently, I mean, they're pretty good at running the ball. They are good at running the ball. Mixon's has been a good ad for them. But they're not consistent in terms of how they like to run the ball. They don't have a lot of a quick game. It's almost like it's not methodical. If they're not getting chunk plays, it's struggling.
Oh, that can be backed up by a lot of numbers, too. Do you mind if I throw some at you real quick? The Texans right now are so reliant on that deep ball, and specifically Nico Collins, that they're almost unplayable without him. With Nico Collins, who played the first 5 games of this year, again, Texans are currently 6-3. They've played 9 games, including the Thursday Night Football. Nico Collins was in for the first 5. He's been out for the last 4 because of the IR, although that was a very tentative IR, and I think he's going to be playing next week. But with Collins in the lineup, the Texans are 4-1, and CJ Stroud has been averaging 277 yards through the air with a 97.5 rating and 7 touchdowns on nearly a 70% completion percentage.
Yeah, it's great.
In the last 4 games without Collins, the team has been 2-2. Stroud has been averaging less than 200 yards passing, a 79.5 rating, and a 55% completion percentage. That's abysmal.
Terrible. And I was not high on the Texans coming into the year to begin with, but their defense is solid. I just think that you're putting too much pressure. Too much expectations were put onto CJ Stroud. He had a great rookie season. Everybody's willing to admit that. He was terrific. They won a playoff game. The second half of the regular season last year, they were outstanding. Slowick was a rising star. D'Amico Ryans came onto the scene. But that's almost, I want to say surprise, but it catches people off guard in terms of how quick of a turnaround that was for the Texans. Now the book's out. Now you have a target on your back. And I always say it's important to be good at adjusting to the adjustment. Now people are adjusting to how they play the Texans. All right, don't give them that deep ball. Try to keep them everything in front of you. And I don't think they're going to dink and dunk their way to victory. That has proved to be the case. The Texans, they get off the field quickly because they take a lot of shots. That defense is on the field a whole lot. 6-3, they got a pretty easy schedule, so there's not a ton to worry about. But in terms of contending and being in the mix, I don't want to say a Super Bowl window, they're not there yet, but they're coming up on it. You're not paying Stroud big-time money. This is the time where, like every other quarter, this is the blueprint to succeed in the NFL. You have a rookie contract quarterback, and you have a ton of young talent everywhere, and then all of a sudden you're going to have to start paying them. So there's only a couple years here where the Texans can really do some damage in a lot of ways with all this talent they have on that team. Probably won't be this year, but in terms of this year, next year, maybe the year after, you got to figure this out. And I agree. I think Slowick, the offensive coordinator of the Texans, is not in a position to get a head coaching gig, partially because I don't think there's going to be a lot of head coaching gigs to get. And I don't think he's going to be the top of everybody's list in terms of going after or getting rising stars, especially in the offensive side of things. Ben Johnson's got that on lock.
Now, I want to address one quick thing that you said is that people or teams, I should say, are figuring out the Texans. I'm not exactly sure if it's as much about the teams figuring out the Texans as it is the Texans shooting themselves in the foot. This team is second in the NFL right now in penalties.
Sure, but that has nothing. 11 for 31 passing. That's not them shooting themselves in the foot.
But when you start 15, when every drive starts with a with a 1st and 15. These guys have had 16 false starts all year.
Oh, it's terrible. I agree.
9 of them from Laramie Tunsil, who, by the way, is on track for the most penalties from a single player in NFL history, by the way. It's ridiculous how much CJ is having to play from behind in his own drives. At some point, you have to be able to efficiently pass the ball. Now, I know they're not, but there are so many things wrong internally with this team that they can't even figure out before they can figure out how to scheme against teams.
Yeah, I agree with the fact that, you got to clean up the penalties. You got to make sure the offensive line is in sync, and they're clearly not. And this is a coaching problem. So D'Amico Ryan's going to have to dig deep here in that offensive line coach to figure out that sense. But it's also, they're going to have to revamp a bit of how they operate the offense when they don't have their stars in the field. Any great offense is a plug and play. You can put any player in there, and they're going to succeed because the system is that good. The Rams sort of do that. The Chiefs do that. The San Francisco 49ers do that. The Patriots did that when Belichick was there. You're able to put a variety of different players into positions, and they're able to immediately succeed. That's the case of any great offense. The Texans are now proving that, I don't want to say they're a product of the players they have, but the players that they have at those skill positions, especially at the receiver position, are a big component in that offense succeeding or not. And that should not be the case. It should be a plug-and-play system where a variety of different guys can step in. It's not like they don't have talent. Tank Dell's a pretty good player. And, Mechie was a relatively touted receiver coming out of Alabama. So that there's not like there's a lack completely of talent. You have a good running back. This should be a situation in which, all right, you're not going to be as explosive as you once were without Nico Collins, but these systems should still operate. This system is not even operating.
Let me ask you a question, Colin, and just follow me for a second. Do you feel like the Philadelphia Eagles are a top 4 team in the NFC?
Top 4? Probably. At the moment?
Okay. At the moment. But 4 weeks ago, we were calling for hella high water for Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. Would you agree?
I wasn't, but people were.
Okay, right? So this Texans team is exactly what the Eagles are doing in the NFC. Because A.J. Brown, as I've said on this show multiple times, he's the key to that offense, not Saquon Barkley. With A.J. Brown on the field, the Eagles right now are 4-0 with a 54-point differential. Jalen Hurts with a 114 rating. Without A.J. Brown on the field, the Eagles are 1-2, a negative 15-point differential. Jalen Hurts with an 87 rating. You cannot have an entire offense rely on one wide receiver. As we've said before, the wide receiver position is so optional as who your stars can be that they're being traded all over the place nowadays. Your team has to rely on a cohesive system that can get little chunk plays. It's only 1st and 10. 3 plays of 4 yards gets you that first down every time. If you can't rely on the deep ball, you have to find a different way. The Eagles are slowly figuring it out, but the Texans haven't made it there yet.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about the Eagles is they opened up their season with a win over the Packers. So there's that, and they played pretty well in the game. But I understand that they've been working out their kinks offensively. It's a new offensive coordinator. There's a couple different facets that go into that. And their defense is finally starting to click, and that defense is talent all over the field. I think it's a matter, I agree with you, that it shouldn't be an A.J. Brown healthy or not in terms of whether the Eagles are a watchable offense. But to that point, I think the Eagles had a lot of working out the kinks to do, and they've been lucky with eking out a couple victories, the Saints being one of them. They had every chance to win that Falcon game week 2, and the Falcons took them right down the field to the final drive. So this team is very close to being 6-1. But to that point, it hasn't been as pretty as people would like. That Brown game was very ugly, but they've trending upward. So from that perspective, I would say that they've been working out that kinks to get with Kellen Moore, new offense, and Hurts has been always streaky. He's been streaky his whole career. So if that's the case, and you don't want to be put all your eggs in one basket in terms of one receiver, then yeah, it's probably not a winning formula. If A.J. Brown is healthy, if Nico Collins is healthy, it's a completely different team. Don't put yourself in that position to be reliant on receivers that are generally unavailable, 17 games a year. That's what I'll say on that. Texans lost to the Jets 21-13 on Thursday Night Football. We shift to Sunday's slate of NFL football. Before I got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. Well, now you've seen the first half of the season, it's time to try your first bet on Hard Rock Bet. Last year, you couldn't legally bet in Florida until week 14. Now, entering week 9, you can still bet on this week's games. You can bet on the futures, the division races, the MVP, Rookie of the Year, so much more. Each game, bet on the touchdown scores, passing yards, other stats, total points, who will win, and so much more. Don't forget, college football was yesterday. A ton of upsets. You're going to have the college football playoff ranking official, the first one this week. You could bet on that as well. The NBA is in full swing. You can bet on that. You got college basketball starting this week. I know the World Series just ended. You could have gotten involved there. There's so much to get involved with on that sports book. Go get started today on Hard Rock Bet. Even if you don't want to bet a ton of money, try a parlay. Put together a bunch of smaller bets. Increase your odds. I saw last week was National Tight Ends Day, and there was a Florida bettor that put it together a anytime touchdown for a parlay on 8 different tight ends around the NFL. Turned a $15 bet into $140,000 just because it was Tight Ends Day. Tucker Kraft, it was a handful of pretty good tight ends, and he got $140,000 out of that. He did that on Hard Rock Bet. So can you. Get started today. Download the Hard Rock Bet app on the App Store and the Google Play Store, or go online to hardrock.bet. The sports book is great because it's got the simplicity that the newer player really needs to get involved and to get acclimated, but it's also got sophistication on the side of it, especially on that Discover page, that the experienced player really needs in order to be satisfied with their sports book. Try it today and get up to $100 back in bonus bets if that first bet does not win. That first bet can be a parlay, it can be a prop, it can be an over, whatever you like to bet, any game you choose. You either win your first bet or get the same amount you bet back as a bonus bet. It's offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling, call 1-888-ADMIT-IT. Sunday Huddle at the City Play Studios right here in downtown West Palm Beach on ESPN 106.3. Colin Russo, Cade Chumsland. Cowboys play today. They lost last week in ugly fashion to the San Francisco 49ers. Zeke Elliott is at healthy scratch today because he was missing meetings during the week. They're sitting at 3-4. They paid a ton of money to Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Micah Parsons is on the horizon. They're sitting at 3-4 in a tough spot in a tricky NFC where all those wild card spots are going to be taken up by NFC North teams. They play today against the Falcons. Falcons, of course, are at 5-3. They're playing on the road at Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. Is this the final straw for the Cowboys, or are we past that point?
I think this is. You look at the rest of the NFC, and it's absolutely loaded. You cannot go 2 games under 500 this late into the season and expect to catch up, and their schedule isn't going to get any easier. I'm looking at Texans, Eagles the following week, the Bengals later this year.
Commanders is no walk in the park now.
There's 2 Commanders games that they still have to play. They have to win this game if they even want a prayer at the NFC for the rest of the season.
I agree with you. I think they're in a lot of trouble. Strictly because of the NFC North. Now, you don't know how much the NFC North is going to beat each other up because the last 8 weeks of the year, basically that whole division plays each other, including today with Detroit playing Green Bay. But they're all sitting above 500. 3 of the 4 of them are multiple games above 500. So this is going to be a tricky spot here for Dallas to, claw their way back, especially with 2 good teams in their division. They're sitting at 3-4. They've been ugly. They haven't been able to run the ball at all. The defense has not been good. They got embarrassed a couple weeks ago against the Detroit Lions. But, they have talent. McCarthy's probably on the coaching for his job, I'm going to assume, if they continue the trend that they're going. But this Falcon team is not a walk in the park either because the Falcons can run the ball. But this is a situation, you're right. Fall to 3-5, there's no chance. I even think now they're in a really tight spot in terms of trying to make the postseason, sitting at 3-4. They're sitting at 3-4, and their only wins have been against the Steelers and the Giants and the Browns. And that's the Browns with Deshaun Watson, and that's the Giants. So you're sitting there, and you still got to play the Eagles twice. You still got to play the Commanders twice. You got the Falcons on the schedule, of course, today. That's tricky. You get the Texans on the schedule. That's a lot of tough games. And if they're not trending upward really in any regard, if you fall, it's almost like keeping your head above water. And they're drowning right now because that conference is that NFC East is getting better. Eagles are going to win today. They're going to beat Jacksonville, I think. That's 6-2 you're looking at. And the Washington Commanders, of course, with that Hail Mary last week. The Cowboys are in a whole lot of trouble. Now it's a question of, I think this game will be a determination because they got the trade deadline coming up. I don't know how much they'll sell, if they will at all. That's not Jerry Jones' real style. But you're sitting there with the trade deadline. People are going to come calling if you fall to 3-5 on whoever it may be. And whether the Cowboys want to shift into mock draft season or to try to, scratch their way towards the postseason. Mock draft for who? You have an elite receiver. You have your quarterback. Mock draft for Travis Hunter?
Micah Parsons not going anywhere.
Yeah, you have an elite pass rusher. Who are you mock drafting for?
I think Jerry Jones is going to freeze just like he did in the offseason. I don't know if it's necessarily a panic attack, but he's going to convince himself that this is still the roster he wants, and he won't make a single move whether coming in or going out.
Yeah, I wonder how much Jerry really thinks about it reflectively on the football side of things versus the business side of things. The Cowboys are still the Cowboys. They're going to get 6 primetime games a year. They're the biggest franchise probably in the NFL, storied. Jones is an 83-year-old, I think he is, general manager. How much do you really look towards the future when you're an 83-year-old general manager?
He should have lost his general manager role, or he should have willingly given it up years ago. He has not been able to put together a roster of winning talent in a long time, because there's a difference between talent and winning talent. There's a difference between guys who have skill and guys who are dogs. And we haven't seen a dog outside of like Micah Parsons in a long time.
Yeah, Jerry, what are you going to do? You're gonna still be general manager at 90? I understand this is sort of win now because you've been on the team forever and you're old and you're still involved in the team day by day. But to that point, you got to stop treating it so much like a business and start treating it like a football team. It's almost like he cares about the Cowboys brand more than he cares about the product on the field.
He has done that for a long time. He was coming in a helicopter for one of the practices this year.
And he's got the fans going through on the tours in the facility during the season. I understand off season. During the season is a little much, and the players are outwardly speaking on it. Jerry, you're 82, 83 years old. I understand you can't just blow it all up. But you got to start thinking a bit reflectively on how to get a good football product on the field because you're old. You're not going to be there forever. You're not going to be involved in the team forever. I mean, a couple more years probably as general manager. You can't have an 87-year-old general manager. Come on. Let's think a little bit. But, the Cowboys are in a tricky spot because Jerry's stubborn. He doesn't like giving up on his guys. I don't know how willing he's going to be to ship McCarthy out of town. And to get another head coach in there that, will revamp and maybe give up a little bit of power. That's a big thing for Jerry. Mike McCarthy does what Jerry wants. Will Bill Belichick do what Jerry wants? No.
No, that's, oh my goodness, no.
No. So it's going to be, which head will prevail? The best head coach of all time if they go after Belichick or Jerry? I think this is do or die time for the Dallas Cowboys. If you move to 4-4, you're going to need some help from your division, but you still got 2 against the Eagles, 2 against the Commanders. I guess control your own destiny if you win, 3-1 in those games. But they're in a lot of trouble. They can't score. They can't run the ball. Prescott has not been good, and the defense stinks, and they're not healthy. Not a winning formula. It's Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet on ESPN 106.3. Halfway point of the season. I want to ask Cade, I want to give our thoughts on who is the league's most underrated team. Who is the league's most overrated team? We're at the halfway point. We can start to make those decisions. We've seen enough of these teams to kind of have a sense of who's overrated, who's underrated. Also, Anthony Richardson officially benched. The Colts are in primetime today against the Vikings with Joe Flacco under center. Anthony Richardson, a 22-year-old quarterback, a year out basically of getting drafted, officially benched. Not going to look to him the rest of the year. Whether it's a professionalism issue, the Colts are winning enough that they think they'll be better off with Joe Flacco. Is this reflective, another domino to fall in the young quarterbacks being benched? Is this reflective of the college developmental style or the NFL developmental style in the quarterback position with Mac Jones now, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, the next domino to fall? Who is this reflective of in terms of a developmental thing? We'll get into that next. Stick around. It's Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet on ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 1063.
Bet live with Hard Rock Bet. Real-time wagering till the very last play. Missing the kickoff doesn't mean all bets are off.
Delay a game on the guy who hasn't bet yet.
Sometimes you just know your team is going to come back. The sportsbook for every kind of player.
Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us.
Get up to $100 back if your first bet doesn't win. Payable and bonus bet up to $100, not a cash offer. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
I'm Wendy Sartori-Link, your Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections. Election Day is November 5th. In Palm Beach County, eligible voters can vote during early voting from October 21st through November 3rd at any early voting location. Visit votepalmbeach.gov to find a location, check wait times, and skip the line by making an appointment ahead of time. Don't forget to bring your photo and signature ID. We can't wait to see you at the polls. Sponsored by the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections Office.
Hi, this is Scott Smith of Smith, Ball, Baez, and Prather, Florida Injury Lawyers. I have said it many times before, and I will continue to say it for many years to come. There is never a good time for a car accident to occur, and most certainly never ever a good time to suffer injuries in any type of an accident. The accident and its overall aftermath will usually cause pain, difficulty, and stress. Florida law allows accident victims to recover compensation for such losses, injuries, and damages. But such recovery is often not obtained easily and can require a lengthy fight with an insurance company. If you've been injured in an accident, call us now. Don't delay. The initial consultation is completely free of charge. The sooner you call us, the sooner we can put our experienced legal team to work for you. Don't hesitate or pause for another minute. Our experience, knowledge, and resources could be working for you just minutes after the call. If you've been injured, the lawyers at Smith, Ball, Baez, and Prather will help. Call us at 500-HELP, 500-HELP. With Smith, Ball, Baez, and Prather, help is just a phone call away. Offices Palm Beach Gardens, Boca Raton, and Port St. Lucie.
Palm Beach County's premier college football event is back. Don't miss the 2024 Boca Raton Bowl, Wednesday, December 18th from FAU Stadium and broadcast live on ESPN. Last year's game saw in-state Rising Power USF beat Syracuse out of the ACC. What will this year's game have in store? Big names, big teams, big action. The 2024 Boca Raton Bowl, December 18th at FAU Stadium on ESPN. Don't miss out. Find out more at BocaRatonBowl.com.
Does your business leave a lasting impression? Attractive, eye-catching signs help you stand out from the crowd and create a strong brand identity. Our team at Signorama West Palm are experts in helping your business get noticed and get effective signage in front of your potential customers. Our team can turn your blank windows or plain vehicles into money-making branding machines by drawing customers' attention to your business. So if you're looking to leave that lasting impression, call us 561-687-7993 or visit SignoramawPB.com.
Fight fans, make Twin Peaks your UFC fight headquarters. The official fight headquarters is Twin Peaks. Never, ever a cover. All fight organizations, all boxing, doesn't matter. Never pay to watch the fights. Plus, eat, drink, scenic views, and Twin Peaks 29-degree ice-cold beer made from scratch favorites while watching all the fights. And did I say never pay a cover? That's Twin Peaks, Pembroke Pines, Cypress Creek, Hollywood, Davie, and of course, Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard in West Palm Beach. Your ultimate UFC fight headquarters, Twin Peaks.
Let's go scatter to west, right, tight, F left, 372 Y stick Z spot.
This is Sunday Huddle with Colin Russo, presented by Hard Rock Bet.
Ooh. Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet on ESPN 1063 live from the City Place Studios right here in downtown West Palm Beach. Colin Russo, Cade Chumsland taking you through 11 a.m. previewing the NFL Sunday slate, which is kicking off at 1 p.m., But I've got a whole lot to do, a whole lot to talk about. We're about midway through the NFL season. With the 17 games, I understand it's a little tricky. But with 8 games basically under everybody's belt, 9 games, this is going to be a situation now that we've seen these teams enough where we could determine who's overrated, who's underrated, who's just properly rated. And we're going to start in either conference, all right, Cade? So I want to get our most overrated, our most underrated in the AFC and the NFC.
Let's make it happen.
Let's start with the AFC, and it's always fun to start with who's overrated. So, Cade, your overrated team in the AFC, excuse me. Go ahead.
Well, we just talked about the Texans for a long period of time, and I think it's been clear that we've said that they are not exactly what their record says. So I'll leave them to the side for a second because I think they're almost an obvious pick for this. I'm going to say the Los Angeles Chargers, sitting at 4-3 right now. Their wins are not really impressing me. Raiders, Panthers, Broncos, Saints without Derek Carr. They looked abysmal against the Steelers, only scoring 10 points. The Chiefs, they blew it at the end of that game. And the Cardinals, they blew it at the end of that game. I know they've been in it, but they've only been able to put up 20 points in their 4 wins and less than 15 or less in all 3 of their losses. This doesn't seem like a team that's going to put up 30-plus points to beat someone in a shootout. They want to play a defensive game, and for all of these high-flying offenses that we see in the AFC, I don't trust that the Chargers are going to stick with any of those top-tier teams, especially even if they play against a good defense.
I agree with that. They want to muddy up every game. And because of that, the margin of error in terms of winning and losing becomes so small when they want to play that way. When you want to play in the 13-10 range every single game, it's 2 or 3 plays that determine whether you win or lose. And that, to me, I understand they don't have a ton of talent offensively, but that is too strict of a game plan that you have to follow in order for you to win. And against a good team that won't beat themselves, it's almost like you're asking to screw up. And that's sort of like I understand this is not Harbaugh's complete roster yet, and let's give him some time to figure this out. But it's not a formula for winning a huge game, in my opinion. But they have the quarterback to do it, so we'll see what they could do the rest of the year. My overrated team, you said it, the obvious one, the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
Sitting at 6-3, that's not a 6-3 football team. Especially what I saw on Thursday. I understand they're hurt, but even against the Packers, that was an ugly game. I understand it was at Lambeau, but I saw them against the Jaguars. They didn't play great against the Jaguars. Both the games against the Colts, they played well in the game. The Colts, played them tough. That Bear game, I haven't seen it. I don't really. If you want to bring up the Patriot game where they were firing on all cylinders, fine. But I haven't really seen it yet with the Texans in terms of being a top-of-the-line team in the AFC, top-of-the-line team in the NFL, which is what everybody said the Texans were going to be. I haven't seen that yet. I have not seen that yet. The quarterback, Stroud is a good player. I don't know. I don't think he's a great player. I think he's overrated in terms of especially how he's played this year. And he's young, give him time. But they have so much talent. They didn't lose any of their coaching staff. They have so much talent defensively, and the defense has played pretty solid. I just don't see it. I haven't seen it yet. That's my overrated
team. This team screams to me that they'll squeak into the playoffs because they beat the Colts twice. They'll win their division at 10-6, and then get bulldozed by the Steelers in the first round of the playoffs at home.
Yeah, it strikes me as a team also where it's like as long as we win, then we could beat anybody because we're just there. It's sort of like the Chiefs. Like if we're just in the postseason, we could be anywhere and we're going to kill everybody. But they're not there yet. They don't have the luxury of like, all right, we just got to get into the postseason, then we'll figure it out from there. I feel like that's how the Texans view the NFL season is like, as long as we get in, we're okay. And they should be, you should have a much better outlook on what they do week in and week out comparatively. Just get into the postseason, we'll figure it out there because you're going to get steamrolled, like you said. Your underrated team in the AFC, who is that?
I'm actually going to say it is the Indianapolis Colts, led by Joe Flacco. Let me make that very clear. A Joe Flacco-led Indianapolis Colts can put up points. They're 4-4 right now, but they've been in a one-score game all 8 games. They've been in it every single time they've been on the field, and I think Joe Flacco, I saw him put up 34 points against the Jaguars. Granted, it's the Jaguars, but putting up 30 points in the NFL is impressive no matter who you're really playing. And so Joe Flacco, with his experience, with his leadership, the Colts don't necessarily have the worst of schedules trying to finish up the year. They're 4-4 right now. The AFC is so weak all around that I think a 10-6 Colts can make at least the 7th spot in this playoffs. And I know they've got some tough ones coming up against the Vikings and Bills. But here's the last 5 games for the Colts. Patriots, Broncos, Titans, Giants, Jaguars. There's potentially 5 straight wins right there for the Colts to end their season. I can definitely see them hitting that 10-6 mark and making the playoffs.
It's a good pick. I don't know how fair it is to do this because this team's 5-3, but I do think they're underrated because a lot of people write them off as the Denver Broncos. And people want to write off the Denver Broncos. People don't talk about the Denver Broncos like they're 5-3.
No.
And they, I know, have a tough game today at Baltimore, and they have a tough game next week at Kansas City. But the Broncos, they have done a great job in terms of keeping games close, like you said. There are 3 losses within 1 score: the Steelers, Seahawks, and the Chargers. And I know it hasn't necessarily been the cleanest football you've ever seen, but in terms of somebody who's trending upward, Bo Nix at quarterback, threw 4 interceptions his first 2 weeks, has thrown 1 since in the 6 games. So, and he doesn't get sacked. He got sacked more than twice in a game once. This is somebody that's going to relatively protect the football. He's not the cleanest quarterback in the world, but he's a gamer, and he can use his legs. He's experienced enough, and they're trending upward. They have a great defense, and that's a team that could sit there with 10 wins and be a tough out in the postseason. They're underrated. I think people have been writing them off all year long, and you're going to see kind of how they fare against the top of the line with the Ravens and the Chiefs. I don't know how well they match up with either of those teams because of the amount they could score.
Both of them on the road, too.
Yeah, and they could score. And the Broncos don't want to play anybody in that type of environment. They don't want to shoot out. But in terms of exceeding expectations and being still underrated based on, they don't do the glamorized things in the NFL. They don't pass the ball down the field particularly well. They don't have the chunk plays that consistently, and they don't do that particularly well. It's not as glamorized. The people like to see the flash plays. They don't have flashy, but they have a good defense. They have a good offensive line. They have a young quarterback that's trending upward, and they have a good NFL coach. That's underrated. And in terms of the rest of the schedule, they still have, team. They have to play the Chargers again. They have to play the Bengals, the Browns, but they also have the Raiders. It's not impossible. It's not easy because they still have the 2 against the Chiefs, but it's not impossible. Sitting at 5-3, I like where the Denver's sitting. The great defense. I'm in on them. Broncos. That's my underrated team. Let's shift to the NFC really quick. Your overrated team in the NFC.
My overrated team in the NFC. Overrated, you said? Overrated. So we're sticking with the overrated. I'm going to say the Minnesota Vikings. I know they're sitting at 5-2, but they are reliant on a perfect game from Sam Darnold. And I know their defense is solid, but Aaron Jones has looked good, but he hasn't looked good enough to carry a team. And when Sam Darnold's not at his best, you could see this team slip and fall. I also don't think the Vikings are the ones to have the winning culture when it comes to late big game moments. Since 1990, which was when the NFL implemented the wild card into the playoffs, there have been 6 teams to start 5-0 and miss the playoffs. The most recent occasion was the 2016 season for the Minnesota Vikings, who also did it in 2003. This team is known to start off hot and then fall short at the end. We're talking the 2022 season where they went 13-4 and then got beat by the Giants in the playoffs. This team I do not trust to make it happen late in the year.
Well, it's a different coach, but I understand the point. The Vikings have been plagued with falling short. They have lost 3 Super Bowls. So from that perspective, I understand the organizational dark cloud, but it's a different coach. One thing I'll say about the Vikings is the book's out on them too, especially that defense. That defense gets gashed. They're very good at intercepting the ball and getting after the quarterback, but they give up chunk plays. And the book's out on them. They're going to need to do some soul searching. As for Darnold, I don't think they need a perfect game from him week in and week out to win. But they've been, one thing the Vikings have been great at is they get out to fast starts. They know how to blitz a team from the get-go. Now it's a matter of finishing games. You blitz the Niners from the get-go. You blitz the Packers from the get-go. You blitz the Texans from the get-go, and then you finish the game. But even against the Lions, you blitz them early on, then that was struggled early. You were up 7-0 against the Rams, 14-7 against the Rams. You let them get back into the game. The Vikings have had a couple of situations now where they let teams eke back. They even did it against the Packers. They were up 28-0 in that game. And then all of a sudden the Packers rumbled back. And it was never as close as the score indicated. But you got to learn how to close a game. And but from that point, they start fast. They start faster than any team in the NFL. Off of that alone, I still think that team is going to be right in the mix because of how much talent they have at certain skill positions. And also because that Flores defense is just, if they could figure out how to stop those chunk plays and rely on, the interceptions, but also, the hard hitting, they're a fearsome defense. Utilize that and don't give up the chunk plays. Close a game. That's what the Vikings got to do. The book's out on them. We'll see how they adjust. They got the Colts tonight and Sunday Night Football. My overrated team in the NFC, I've been flipping. I thought the Eagles a little bit, but I think it's the Packers. And I think the Packers got a good head coach, and they got a good quarterback who's been banged up, so I understand that. But in terms of 6-2, I don't know if that team's 6-2 good. I saw them last week against Jacksonville. I understand they went Malik Willis, and Malik Willis has been out. He's just adequate backup. But in terms of what the Packers, have done, they had that loss against the Eagles, which was close, I understand. And they had that loss against Vikings, which was not close, despite what the score indicates. They escaped in a lot of ways that Texan game. They escaped in a lot of ways that Jaguar game. And they escaped in a lot of ways that Ram game. The Packers are fortunate in a lot of ways to have the record, the 6-2 record that they have. Now, they have an impossible schedule coming up. Lions, Bears, Niners, then Dolphins, then you got Lions, Seahawks. That's not an easy schedule. So we'll see where they stand in the realm of the NFC because they play the big bullies now in the Detroit Lions. But I think that's my overrated team is the Packers because I don't know if I trust Love enough yet. And I don't know especially if I trust Love to be available. Love doesn't know what quarterback he wants to be. Does he want to be Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers? He has a couple plays a game and you're like, what? I don't even know what he was thinking. And a couple games where he methodically puts together an elite drive. It's very strange, very streaky quarterback. That's my overrated. What's your underrated?
So just a quick comment on the Packers. We talk about the NFC North as the division to beat, right? Both of us just named overrated teams from the NFC North. It's going to get really ugly if those two teams start to show their true colors and you've got other NFC teams that are going to bring it home down the stretch.
Well, it's going to be a Royal Rumble in that NFC North, especially with all them all essentially playing each other.
Absolutely.
The next couple weeks here. That's going to be interesting.
Let's go to underrated in the NFC. I know this team is technically 6-2, but I don't know if we've talked about the Washington Commanders enough this season. I don't think...
That's not underrated. All right, go ahead. I'll let you finish your point, but come on.
I think they're so underrated that we're talking about this as the anomaly of rookie quarterback seasons and how shocked we've been about how much this team has been able to come together. I think they're even more dominant than people realize. They're third in the NFL in scoring. They have a top 10 to 12 defense with the rest of the NFC that they have been able to play against and other AFC teams that they have been right in contact with and have gotten close to beating. I see this Washington Commanders team probably making it to the NFC Championship and putting up a real run against the Detroit Lions. This is not some fluke rookie season. This is the real deal.
All right. So I agree. I don't think it's a fluke either. You know what team? I don't know if they're postseason good, but they're underrated. And it's the Arizona Cardinals to me.
That was next for me too. Well done.
I think the Arizona Cardinals are pesky. I like Kyler Murray. He's a streaky quarterback too. You don't really know what Kyler you're going to get until the game starts. But when he's on, he's so hard to bring down. He's good at extending plays. He's got a good arm. And their offense, I think, is starting to click a little bit. They play hard for Gannon, their head coach, and their defense is pretty good. So the way I look at that is they've had a couple of really ugly ones. I understand. They got killed by the Packers. They got killed by the Commanders. But think about their 4 losses. Packers, Commanders, Lions, Bills. All 6-win teams. Played the Bills really tough on the road. Had every chance to win that game. Played the Lions relatively tough. It was never as close as a one-score game indicates, but they played them tough. And then they had 2 bad ones against 2 other playoff teams. Now, the way I look at that is they had a great win against the Niners, and and they had a great win against the Rams. They're streaky. But if they can start to put together some consistency, I think that's a really, really underrated group. I really do. I like what I see out of the Arizona Cardinals, partially because I'm a Murray guy. I like Kyler. But, they've utilized James Conner properly. Marvin Harrison's starting to get involved. Trey McBride is a very underrated tight end. And they have a pretty good defense.
That's another team that kind of is going to rely on their health throughout the entire season.
Now, I hope they don't sell at the deadline. If they go to 4-5, then all of a sudden Budda Baker's being shipped off. That would not make me happy. But I'm in on them. I like what I see from them. We're a little behind schedule. We're getting Blitz the Book presented by Hard Rock Bet next on Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet live from the City Play Studios right here in downtown West Palm Beach. Stick around on ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 106.3.
You've got so many chances to win big on Hard Rock Bet. Even a small bet can bring in that serious cash. All you need is $1 and a dream.
Unbelievable. They've hit the parlay.
Let's go!
Big payouts for every kind of player.
Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us.
Get up to $100 back if your first bet doesn't win. Payable and bonus bet up to $100, not a cash offer. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Huddle up this season at Hurricane Grill and Wings, where every day is game day. Enjoy our famous wings, new cocktails, and happy hour deals at the perfect spot to catch all the football action. Escape from the ordinary. Visit hurricanewings.com to find a restaurant near you.
Coors Light presents To Chill or Not to Chill, when your friend bets against your team and the friendship. Or choose chill because you're drinking Coors Light with your buddy. Coors Light, choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. 2024 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
If you are buying a new home in Palm Beach County, whether it's your first time or you're upgrading or downsizing, the clerk's office has the services you need to help protect your investment. Sign up for our Property Fraud Alert program, offering free monitoring of Palm Beach County's official records. You will get an alert if a document, such as a deed or mortgage, is recorded using your name or address. For more information, head to our website at mypalmbeachclerk.com/homeowners. Congratulations on your new home. We are always here to help.
Warning. Amendment 4 overturns Florida's parental consent law, so a minor could undergo an abortion without a parent's permission. Doctors can't even prescribe Tylenol without a parent's consent. But with Amendment 4, abortion would become the only medical procedure that can be performed on a minor without a parent's permission. Amendment 4 goes far beyond Roe v. Wade, eliminating reasonable safeguards and forcing taxpayers to fund abortions, even late-term abortions when science says the baby can feel pain. The Amendment 4 campaign is funded by George Soros and his radical allies, the same people trying to strip away parents' rights and push gender ideology in schools are trying to overturn parental consent on abortion. Amendment 4 isn't about freedom. It's about taking power from parents and giving it to radical leftists. Be warned. Amendment 4 is way too extreme and not what it seems. Sponsored by Truth About Amendment 4.
Hi, this is Scott Smith with Smith Ball Baez and Prather, Florida Injury Lawyers. We are a Florida civil trial law firm that specializes in the areas of personal injury and wrongful death. Our offices are located in Palm Beach Gardens, Boca Raton, and Port St. Lucie. Our lawyers have litigated thousands of matters at the Palm Beach, Martin, St. Lucie, and Indian River County courthouses. Our lawyers, paralegals, and other numerous members of our legal team live in Palm Beach County and Treasure Coast cities and towns such as West Palm Beach, Port St. Lucie, Lake Worth, Palm Beach Gardens, Palm City, Jupiter, and others just like you and your families. We are a statewide recognized law firm, but it is your community and your families that we live and associate with on a daily basis. Our most satisfying achievement is when we know that our legal power has helped a fellow member of our Palm Beach County and Treasure Coast community secure a fair and just huge result. If you've been injured, the lawyers at Smith Ball Baez and Prather will help. Call us at 500-HELP. 500-HELP. With Smith Ball Baez and Prather, help is just a local phone call away. Offices Palm Beach Gardens, Boca Raton, and Port St. Lucie.
Daisy right, Sully, blitz right, Travolta right, pumpkin left, alert Charlotte left on one.
This is Sunday Huddle with Colin Russo, presented by Hard Rock Bet.
Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet, live here from the City Place Studios in downtown West Palm Beach. Colin Russo, Cade Shumsland taking you through the 11 o'clock hour. Packed slate, Week 9 NFL football kicking off at 1 p.m. We're presented by Hard Rock Bet. Well, now you've seen those few weeks of the season. We're halfway point. Time to get started on Hard Rock Bet. Last year, you couldn't bet in Florida until Week 14. Now, Week 9, Week 10 in college football. It's time to get started on Hard Rock Bet. You could bet the division winners. You could bet the MVPs. You could bet the Rookie of the Year. You could bet so much more on the future side of things. You could also bet game-by-game, touchdown scores, passing yards, the other stats, total points, who will win, so much more, even live betting. You can do that as well. College football had a lot of upsets, especially with ranked teams. We'll see what's going on with the College Football Committee and how they rank it with the College Football Playoff ranking. But you can get involved in the college side of things. College basketball starts this week. The NBA is in full swing. You do the overs on that. There's so many sports on at this time of year where it'd be foolish not to get started on Hard Rock Bet. It's the best sports book for the new type of player and for the experienced type of player. It's got the simplicity but also sophistication that appeals to both sides. Try a parlay, too. String together a bunch of different bets. Increase your odds. You know, in Week 1, a Florida bettor went 16 for 16, turned a $10 bet and over $100,000 by getting all those picks right. And also, they got the Discover page. If you want to see what the important side and where the money is, where the trending picks are, the Discover page has got it right there for you. They basically make it for you. Cade, you were looking at the Discover page. You saw something you liked.
There's a sneaky one on the homepage on the popular bets. Scroll all the way to that right side, and there's a 5-bet parlay that I am absolutely loving. Anytime touchdowns for these 5 players: CeeDee Lamb against the Falcons, Alvin Kamara against the Panthers, James Cook against the Dolphins, J.K. Dobbins against the Browns, and Derrick Henry against the Broncos. Plus 933, just a $10 bet could win you over $100, $103 to be specific. I love all 5 of those guys to get in the end zone today.
All righty. There's our picks. Try Hard Rock Bet now. Get up to $100 back in bonus bets if that first bet does not win. You either win your first bet or get the same amount you bet back as a bonus bet. It's offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling, call 1-888-ADMIT-IT. Let's blitz the book, presented by Hard Rock Bet. So Blitz the Book, presented by Hard Rock Bet, is where Cade and I go game by game in the whole Sunday slate on Hard Rock Bet app and go and pick against the spread. Every team, every game. We'll see what we like, and we also give a player prop team parlay at the end of it. Let's start out fast, Cade. I got my parlay all set. I'm excited for that, so I think I got a good one this week. But we'll start in the Dallas-Atlanta game. Dallas, do or die time. They're +3 on the road. Who are you taking?
I'm taking the Cowboys. I like this one. I think this is the one where they come around. I know everything is stacked against them, but I'll take the points, +3.
I'm taking Atlanta -3 in this one. If anything, I think this is going to be a push, but I think Atlanta's going to win this one. I'm out on Dallas. They got too many off the field stuff, not healthy enough. Get me out on this. Atlanta -3. Denver at Baltimore. Denver's getting 9 points in this one.
I'm going to take Denver. I think they'll make it ugly. They might lose by 6 or 7, but I think they cover the 9.
I agree with you. I think they'll cover the 9 as well. I'm in on the Broncos. I don't know if they match up that well with the scoring, but if they can keep it ugly, keep it muddy, I think that favors them. Chargers -1 at Cleveland.
I'm going to take Cleveland. I'm riding the Jameis Winston train.
I am as well. This is a tricky game. Getting points at home. They got a little bit of juice now. Good head coach. Vegas at Cincinnati. The Raiders are getting 7.5 points in this one.
When Joe Burrow said last week that they need to win, 7 of 9 to make the playoffs, I'm going to believe him. I'm going to take the Bengals -7.5.
I don't believe him, and they're going to win 7 of 9, but I think they will win today. I think they will win today easy. I'll join you on the Cincinnati Bengals -7.5. All right, moving on to the Miami game. Dolphins getting 6 on the road at Buffalo. Dolphins never beat Buffalo.
They never beat Buffalo, but they always seem to make it somewhat close. I'm actually going to take a risk and take the Dolphins here.
They got killed in week 2. I think they're going to get killed again today. Give me Buffalo in this one. Bills -6. That's what I like. All right, Patriots at Titans. May is cleared concussion protocol, so he will be playing today. Patriots are getting 3 on the road.
I have no idea about this one, Colin. I'll take Tennessee -3 just because.
I think the Titans will win this one. but I don't think they're going to win it by 3. So I'm going to take the Patriots +3. This game has 17-16 written all over it.
Pretty much.
And I think the Titans are going to win, but it'll be close, unfortunately, because I have that under. Saints at Carolina. Saints are -7 on the road.
Saints have not been able to score with Spencer Rattler right now outside of the fluke second quarter they had against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to take Carolina +7. I think they cover.
I agree. Carolina +7. I think that's an easy one. Maybe I'm completely wrong and they get blitzed, but who knows? But I think Bryce Young has played fairly well last week, and they played a good team. I like that. Carolina +7. Washington at New York Giants -4. They're this.
This game was really close week 2. The Giants had this game if they had a kicker, but Washington looks completely different now.
Yeah.
I think this is at least a double-digit victory for Washington.
The one thing that makes me nervous, it might be a little bit of a hangover game, but I agree with you on that. I'll take Washington. Chicago at Arizona. Chicago's getting 2 points on the road.
I agree with you that Arizona is underrated. Haven't been too impressed by Caleb Williams this season. Their defense is legit, but I'll take Arizona -2.
I'm going to take Chicago +2 in this one. I agree. Arizona's underrated. I think Chicago desperately needs this game, and I think that desperation will prevail. Jacksonville at Philly. Jacksonville's getting +7 in this one.
I love Philadelphia with A.J. Brown. I don't know if they're contenders, but I like them against the Jags.
I agree with you on that. -7 Philadelphia. I'll take it. Detroit -2.5 at Green Bay at Lambeau. Last outdoor game they'll play all year.
Detroit has been on another level offensively. I'll take them.
Are they an arena football team? That's the real question.
Also fair.
I'm going to take Detroit in this one as well, -2.5. I don't know that losing twice, but geez. Rams at Seattle, -1.5. Rams a long week here.
Let's go with the Rams at -1.5. I think they're different now that they're healthy.
I agree with you. Sunday Night Football, the Colts at Minnesota. The Colts are getting 5.5 points.
I think the Colts lose by 4. I think the
I agree.
Vikings win, but I think the Colts cover.
That's a lot of points there. I like the Colts there. I know the Minnesota's got a long week here, but I think they're going to be something with Flacco. Your parlay, what is it?
I like the Lions to win big over the Packers -2.5, and I think Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Cardinals gets in the end zone +395. I'm going hard for this one.
Mine's +264. Devontae Smith over 56.5 yards. He's done that every game except for one this year when he got shut down against the Giants. Going to parlay that with the Rams -1.5.
I love that.
That's my pick. Those are our parlays. That was Blitz the Book presented by Hard Rock Bet. It's been Sunday Huddle. Fun one. Big thanks to Cade. It's been Colin Russo sending you off into Football Sunday. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy your football. We'll see you next week.
The preceding program was paid for in full by Hard Rock Bet. Advice and opinions expressed during this program were solely those of the guests or hosts of this program and not of ESPN 106.3 or Good Karma Brands.
Bet live with Hard Rock Bet. Real-time wagering till the very last play.